Finally brushed your teeth for the night. You don't have to say anything. Tiredness is written all over your face. You said you wanted me to work on this one, right? I can do fantasy. Plus, it'll be a nice read. Oh, you can turn off the main light. I'll keep my lamp on. Sorry, I'll move them over a bit. No, it's fine. I'd rather you lie down and relax. How many manuscripts have you done this week? Exactly. And I don't want you falling asleep on them like you did the last time. Sure. So you would have eaten dinner in a timely manner if I hadn't texted you. Are you comfortable? Good. Go to sleep. I'm not tired yet. Changing back and forth from early and late shifts are a hassle, but tomorrow's my day off, and I'm wide awake for the most part, so... Anathema. Interesting. Chapter 1. Revelations. Okay, let's see. The sound of gentle humming joined the rustling of leaves. The soft wind caressed long locks of brown hair, and a leather boot tapped against dewy grass to a silent beat. You know how much I talk to myself. Should I read it in my head? Oh, it's relaxing, is it? Are you that charmed by my voice? No, but your smile is all I need. I'll highlight and write notes of my opinions so you can look over them. I won't be too detailed, but it should help a bit. Duran was propped up against the crumbling bark of a tree, surrounded by nature's song that inspired the quick scratchings of pen against parchment. He regularly journeyed to the forest at the dawn of a fresh morning, when the rain slept and rays of sun filled the holes in the canopy, bathing the floor in soft light. Darren was too occupied with his writing to notice a man watching him with fond eyes. Ah, so this is written in Third Omniscient. Okay, that makes sense then. It does kind of remind me of marking my students' papers, though yours is the one I'll never forget. You're living with me now because of it. Now stop talking and go to sleep. Good first page. Smoothing on the back of his natural grey hair with a gloved hand. Love is an adventure in disguise. That sounds pretty poetic to me. Smiled and slid his hand up against the side of Verdel's face, his thumb smoothing over the grey-toned skin. Grey-toned skin? Different. I guess this is fantasy, so nothing's off the table. They use the rule of 3 a lot. Maybe I should use a different color for that. When she cooked for the first time, Vidal tried with all his might to praise her, and as he stared at the steaming plate of food, he wondered if eating his sister's cooking was the consequence of deceiving her all those years ago. I like the names they use. Easy to remember. Soon after, Sonet entered the room carrying a basin of hot water mixed with aladras oil that alleviated pain and fever. She dipped a clean towel into the liquid and wrung it out, folding the steaming fabric and placing it upon Darren's forehead. Alea, find the mata. The mata? Mata? What is that? Oh, shaman. Okay. Or at least a type of shaman. That was smooth. No one uttered a word, giving the shaman room to concentrate and voice her musings with hums and murmurs. Vidal, Alea, and Sonet exchanged glances between one another, but like their silence, they waited with bated breath. Opened her eyes and sighed deeply. It was her 13th case that day, and no doubt more would need tending to. The shaman turned to them all despondent. And inform the elders of the poison that forest now harbours. I know not where it wandered from, nor how to dispel it, but as a consequence of their ignorance, Darren suffers. The others suffer the same fate, one I cannot heal. Pendant was a simple grey crystal, but his expression softened as soon as it touched his skin. Crystal as a method of healing. Ah, the forest was poisoned. Too many nouns. At this rate, you're just going to be listening to me and not sleeping, but yes, fantasy does tend to do that. But there are better ways of implementing it. If I read it to you, will you focus on sleeping? The main character is currently reciting the vows to his dying husband. He says, I take you to be my beloved, under the guidance of Ohenna. With love I shall cherish you. Without hate I shall accept you. In life I shall walk with you, and in death I shall join you. Yes, very poetic. This writer has a way with words, but sometimes it's too many words. Marriage. Us. That's a talk for when you're not sleep deprived. Now stop talking. Chapter 2, The Scholar. The sun's orange glow bathed the city in a warm, gentle brilliance, and the sky's pastel colors signaled the waning day. Esor. The circular metropolis by the mountains was famous for its plethora of light crystals, their main trade. It garnered the slogan, "A city that never sleeps," and there was merit to such a title. Crystals and gleaming balls of all colors illuminated crowded pathways and sides of stony buildings, created from beings who possessed the ability to wield light. Descriptions are good, but too much too soon, I think. Seven colors represented 7 different sections in Esor. Liddell and Alea walked through gleams of the blue hue, showing the scholarly neighborhood, housing all walks of life who committed to the enlightenment of knowledge. Citizens called the blue section the brain of Esor, for it housed the city's more intelligent individuals. She regularly displayed an air of egotism, but curiosity never failed to make her look cute in his eyes. She spun around to walk backwards down the street. Strangers were forced apart on either side of her, conveying an irritated huff before carrying on with their daily business. Very vivid. Good. Once the spirited facade disappeared, he attempted to push his lingering regret of delaying their departure to one side to spend quality time with his sister. Shamans were taking care of his beloved. He could afford a few hours. So a 2-year time skip. More magic. Okay. past few years. Last I saw her, she had trouble remembering what an ibex was. Darren had not woken from his slumber for more than 2 years. His body had thinned until the skeleton beneath showed its sharp curves, but he appeared peaceful throughout it all. Empowering description. Fabrics hung from the roof, stretching towards the middle of the lane to interlace with the material parallel to it. Siblings reached the other sector despite the time. The flock of explorers and locals did not disperse. The number had grown, and chatter flitted about the congested walkways, lined either side with shops and stalls. The spirited shouts of merchants coaxed eager buyers to view their wares. It was a city that never slept. They used this already. Smirked. Yeah. She would be beautiful for mother, don't you think? First necklace, oval-shaped purple crystal. It will suit her. Yes, Braniline, there's a day class. Names crystals and properties flew over Adele's head as it did with a layer, but without a doubt in her mind. If he was. More location names. Crystal names too. They're doing a great job with the latest character. different race. Oh, races. Okay, interesting. The being with long, sharp ears shook his head out of disbelief. So this race has long ears. Well, they seem to head hop a lot. The merchant's eyes grew wide at the bold statement. His cheeks reddened, and the color reached the tops of his round ears. He continued to blabber on, ignoring the loud accusation. The thought of the seller's lies had already spread through the crowd, perceived by their unimpressed faces. They continued. He removed a small crystal from his breast pocket that looked nothing like the one on the merchant. The crowd moved in, their heads jerking from side to side to glimpse what was to occur. Without another word, he held the crystal against the scanners. Both emitted a soft light. Chatter grew behind him, and Vidal stayed silent. This feels convoluted. Must be a better way of exposing this scammer. Crystal that prolongs life. You're bound for death anyway. Nonsense it is. I heard about a crystal that could heal all sickness, even the strongest of disease. Ah, that's where he comes into play. Okay, so the first chapter was more of a prologue. But I feel like he trusts too easily. Or maybe it's out of desperation. I'll still note it down. Hope was on the verge of becoming reality, but to trust no stranger's words was the epitome of desperation. Ah, okay, so they acknowledged it anyway. I could show you, he said, and Vidal's reasoning shattered. Okay, chapter 2 done. Darling, are you asleep? Right, chapter 3, to follow intuition. Loud cheers accompanied the clinking of glasses, and lively patrons chattered on. A strong fire burned in the main hearth, and where the light faded, orange crystals dangled from the ceiling. The tavern housed the strangest of people, but they shared a common wish: a few drinks and a hot plate of food to fill their stomachs. Well, they paint a picture. Vidal Ele and the Vaya, who revealed his name to be Luceus. We have a name for him now. There's a clean table in the far corner. Sound of music from the flute and guitar made for a pleasing accompaniment to Elea's meal. She scraped the last remnants of stew from her bowl, and only ordered freshly baked bread and a glass of water to distract her to eat a hearty meal. Vaya picked up his glass and indulged in a quick sip. His gaze shifted to her brother and then back to Odysseus. Her focus narrowed. She had joined them after the commotion in the square, but was told little about what occurred. Though she was cheerful enough, not having to pay for a meal, apprehension crept through her. Vaya were mostly good-natured people, a species that didn't seek trouble, but instead expelled it. They were born from the seeds of gods, and humanity expected them to act in kind. Vidal played with the end of his right glove. I wonder why he wears them. Curious. Only so many purposes at this time, provided the excavation of more crystalline forms. The properties became a subject of study. The purple prose slows the pace down. Vidal sat back down, though he still seemed conflicted as to whether Luceus was telling all the truth. The stranger could say anything to settle their agenda, just like the swindler in the square. One book was carefully pulled out from the inside pocket, its edges frayed and torn. At first the entries appeared neat and uniform, but cursive words were replaced by symbols and scribbles. Organization non-existent. Most of the handwriting was chaotic and illegible, but a few bold and circled words stood out among the mass of nonsense. So strange, he hunched forward. Excellent book. Could have all been an elaborate joke, but the circumstances intrigued him. Find the MacGuffin trope. Okay. Let's see how they handle this. The result he expressed in Algon noticed. He was almost positive the crystal was in the city, but as was I, the capital was a fortress, tucked majority of citizens stayed oblivious to the eroding stains tarnishing its core. 2 million people. Nice addition. Jill drank the rest of his water and sighed. His head throbbed to accommodate processing so much information. So pretty fruitless, he would have to travel alongside Luceus and journey out in the world. Determined tone. More head hopping. They were stunned into silence, and she sat back in the chair, her gaze lowered. Yet again the table caught the attention of others as they peered to them without turned lips. Okay, so they've established the layers quite well, and they're good at closing scenes. You need a break from all this information. You've been overloading yourself, haven't you? They travelled to another section of the city brightened in a green hue, the botanical gardens. It was considered the lungs of her soul, overflowing with the purest breath of nature, tended to by lovers of the earth who took pride in cultivating its roots. So these different people with magic. Stone paths lined with green grass and rounded shrubs. Tall bushes fringed the gardens, and vines crawled along the surface of buildings and houses. Sense of peace to those who ventured deep into its maze, but even if one became lost, the environment was tranquil. Before a plot her head bowed and her thick locks of hair draping over her arm. Content smile showed itself as her fingers caressed a fresh bud. So these different people with magic. These were the flowers. She tended to the next one, breathed in, but in the distance petals opened a fraction, revealing a partial of its blue interior. Pleased with the flower's growth, I extended to the next. His face resembled her father's, from the straight nose to the peppering of hair around his mouth and jaw. Complexions. Since the last. More purple prose. Fingers crossed. Fresh. That's opened. Smile lighted as he neared and she sprang to her feet, to accept the open arms that wrapped around her waist. Familiar warmth enveloped her, what she had not felt in 30 years. Ah, they made a conlang for this. Not surprised. Let's see if I can say this. Elhon Mae May Yiti Monem Athan. I'm probably butchering that. I stepped away from Isaiah, eyeing the siblings from their porcelain skin with grey and lavender-coloured undertones to their choice of attire. That's what creates such a doubtful tone is race, even now rejected by some from society. They could not hide it either. They, along with many others, were the byproduct of a war that raged over 2,000 years ago. They wouldn't have expected the malice to diminish, but the wound still ran deep. And those who knew what to match to the end. Work with one of the governors who told them about research the capital was conducting. A haloric crystal was mentioned, but that was all information they managed to retrieve. Muted brown, marking drawn on the side of a palm. All works of vessel have this symbol, as I'm sure you have seen. It allows my power to go undetected by the capital. That's contrived. Says his decision will lead to a future he did not intend to create. The plan they discussed at length was sound, with every detail checked once, twice, then a third time. Rule of 3 again. Took 4 days to come to a consensus. 4 days? Well, of course, with Omniscient you can time skip quite a bit. You know, they were about to commit a crime against the city or for a crystal. Out of them all, they were the weakest, and he would ensure they made it out alive. No matter how crowded they were, blades of grass compared to the colossal stature of the city. The luminescence from the floating orbs bathed the capital in a serene white light. They like the word orb. Well, at least it's not used for eyes. It resembled a silver eyeball, unblinking and perceptive to the city's happenings. The circular base alone demanded plenty of space, but the structure curved outwards into a giant sphere covered in reflective glass. Upon the flat top were 4 silver horn-shaped edifices that curled inwards at its peak. It was undeniably the highest point of the capital and the most captivating. Okay, so they have trains. Just in white as I patrol the streets carrying weaponry made from metal. In a juice. Ooh, this is quite interesting. Hot liquefied crystal as ammunition. I wonder how that's feasible. Strengthened by the hope he might live longer than 5 years. Finally, Sia straightened up and breathed deeply, seething her eyes to control her energy. Palms upturned, she rubbed a thumb and forefinger together. They waited for the sign. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, and their once dark brown hue changed to a dull green. She counted down in her mother tongue. I like the way they ended this chapter. Much cleaner. Maybe I should transfer these onto a document. Yeah, I think I will. a cup of tea? No. I'll do one more chapter. Death cocktail. Intriguing. They stood in chorus, waiting for the call. Despite her stubborn declaration, Ale's gaze anxiously travelled up the thin, bending frames of the windows. The chances they found the crystal by scouring the building was slim. Adele carried similar thoughts, but it did not cloud his better judgment. If he needed to fight finding it, he would strive even harder to leave with it. That just kills the pacing. She rolled her tongue behind her teeth and her cheeks hollowed. With a deep breath, she pursed her lips and spat a thin thorn towards the guard, its swift point laced with a developed anesthetic she mastered during her work. That's new, but something's off here. Punctured the uniform and embedded into his neck. Her head ripped around and she repeated the action twice more. The soldiers crumpled to the ground in a heap, unconscious. Caesar Satari as he neared one guard, snatching a decorative wood card from the pristine steel grey belt and the unfired weapon. With haste, he ran towards the identification panel and swiped the card through. A small beep sounded and the thick black door rumbled, its bottom grating against the metal beneath as it slid open. This whole sequence happens too fast. I wonder if they'll agree. He jogged up the narrow staircase and stood at the top, observing three domed pathways, each lined with small circular tubes of white light against clean glossy cream walls. His blurred and bowed reflection moved upon the ceiling as he warily stepped forward to survey the left path, and then the right. It took only 2 minutes of exploring the inner caverns of the building before alarms began to blare. The white tubes of light changed to a searing crimson, and the bright ones dulled to a deep burgundy. As you cursed another tongue and word, he looked over to her cousin who squinted his eyes. Dim light blinded Lucius. His vision suffered from the darkness, floor of his power. He grasped onto his cousin's hand and exhaled. The tight palms glowed, and light travelled through Alicia's arteries, spreading throughout her body as she absorbed Lucius's power. Leia gasped and showed a smile of awe while Alicia parted her lips and breathed out. Small dust-like flecks burst from her lungs and sprinkled before them, drifting through the air like starry particles. It eased Lucius's vision, and it calmed Elia's speedy heartbeat. Alicia exhaled again, and another eruption speckled the corridors. It was a sight to behold, but not one to linger on, and so they ran deeper into the veins of Essor's eye. They do like their personification, but the detail is beautiful. Wait, how long is this chapter? This could be split into 2. I'll call it a night. Sorry, darling. Did I wake you? Go back to sleep. I'll get ready for bed and then join you, okay? I got 3.5 chapters done. I thought I'd be able to do more, but I couldn't resist you anymore. Yes, I got tired, alright. So now we can sleep. I think a lion is in order. You comfortable?